Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Folks, Joe Manchin has slammed the brakes on the entire Biden economic plan. Here's the headline of an article on your screen from Bloomberg. Manchin slams brakes on the Biden plan and actually criticizes progressives. Now, the West Virginia Democrat, I call him the conservative Democrat, said he wanted a full economic analysis, and his statement is a blow to efforts to move quickly on the package. This is a big setback, folks, for the Biden administration. Here's another headline on your screen, this time from the Washington Post. Manchin calls for more time to review the $1.75 trillion spending package, and this creates new headaches for the White House. In fact, he raised concerns about debt and inflation, and he demanded that House lawmakers approve a separate infrastructure bill. Folks, this is Joe Manchin crushing the timetable for passing President Biden's legislative agenda. I'm going to quote some reporting from Punchbowl News. Manchin actually called for an immediate vote on the $1 trillion infrastructure package, which he helped negotiate. And he said, I quote, "Holding this bill hostage is not going to work in getting my support for a reconciliation bill." In fact, he accused Democratic leaders of engaging in what he called shell games to hide the true cost of the reconciliation package. He said this, I quote, "However, as more of the real details outline the basic framework are released, what I see are shell games, budget gimmicks that make the real cost of the so-called $1.75 trillion bill estimated to be almost twice that amount." He said, Congress must allow time for complete transparency and analysis of the impact of changes to our tax code and energy and climate policies to ensure that our country is well positioned to remain the superpower of the world. Manchin also said this is important. "I'm open to supporting a final bill that helps move our country forward, but I'm equally open to voting against a bill that hurts our country." So, folks, according to Punchbowl News, there are three big takeaways here. Number one, Manchin is ready to kill this bill unless he gets his way. That makes him more powerful than progressive House Democrats who want infrastructure and reconciliation to pass. In fact, Manchin clearly controls the fate of the entire Democratic agenda. This is also what Punchbowl News said. We have to imagine that progressives in the House won't agree to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill right now. Manchin is essentially calling the reconciliation bill a house of mirrors. This is very far from what progressives were looking for. Now, we still haven't heard from Senator Kristen Sinema at the time I'm creating this episode of Ignition Time. Now, Manchin's declaration actually messes up the entire timetable that the Democrats had to try and pass both the reconciliation bill and the $1.75 trillion bill. In fact, let's hear from Joe Manchin and see what he said in his own words. Let's roll the tape and watch the one and only conservative Democrat from West Virginia, Senator Joe Manchin. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Twice now, the House has balked at the opportunity to send the BIF legislation to the President. As you've heard, there are some House Democrats who say they can't support this infrastructure package until they get my commitment on the reconciliation legislation. It is time to vote on the BIF bill, up or down, and then go home and explain to your constituents the decision you made. And I've always said, if I can't go home and explain it, I can't vote for it, and if I can, I will. I've worked in good faith for 3 months, for the past 3 months, with President Biden, Leader Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, and my colleagues on the reconciliation bill, and I will continue to do so. For the sake of the country, I urge the House to vote and pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Holding this bill hostage is not going to work in getting my support for reconciliation bill. Throughout the last 3 months, I've been straightforward about my concerns that I will not support, nor will I support a package that risks hurting American families suffering from historic inflation. Simply put, I will not support a bill that is this consequential without thoroughly understanding the impact that it'll have on our national debt, our economy, and most importantly, all of our American people. Every elected representative needs to know what they are voting for and the impact it has, not only on their constituents, but the entire country. That is why we must allow time for complete transparency and analysis on the impact of changes to our tax code and energy and climate policies to ensure that our country is well positioned to remain the superpower of the world while we inspire the rest of the world towards a cleaner environment. And this all can be done. I, for one, won't support a multi-trillion-dollar bill without greater clarity about why Congress chooses to ignore the serious effects of inflation and debt that have on our economy and existing government programs. Meanwhile, elected leaders continue to ignore exploding inflation, that our national debt continues to grow, and interest payments on the debt will start to rapidly increase when the Fed has to start raising interest rates to try to slow down this runaway inflation. With the factors in mind, and all of these factors that we've spoken about, I've worked in good faith for months with all of my colleagues to find a middle ground on a fiscally, and I repeat that, a fiscally responsible piece of legislation that fixes the flaws of the 2017 Trump tax bill that I thought was weighted far, far too far for the high-end earners and the needs of the American families and children. However, as more of the real details outlined in the basic framework are released, what I see are shell games, budget gimmicks that make the real cost of the so-called $1.75 trillion bill estimated to be almost twice that amount if the full time is run out, if you extended it permanently, and that we haven't even spoken about. This is a recipe for economic crisis. None of us should ever misrepresent to the American people what the real cost of legislation is. While I've worked hard to find a path to compromise, it's obvious compromise is not good enough for a lot of my colleagues in Congress. It's all or nothing, and their position doesn't seem to change unless we agree to everything. Enough is enough. It's time our elected leaders in Washington, all of us, stop playing games with the needs of the American people and holding a critical infrastructure bill hostage. While there's opportunity in the reconciliation bill that we can all agree on, and we've been talking about this for months. Again, to be clear, I will not support the reconciliation legislation without knowing how the bill will impact our debt and our economy and our country, and we won't know that until we work through the text. For the sake of our country, I am urging all of my colleagues in the House to vote and pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It's bipartisan, 69 votes. We worked on that for many, many months. As I've said before, holding that bill hostage is not going to work to get my support of what you want. It's what we should all agree on and work through the process. I'm open to supporting a final bill that helps move our country forward, but I am equally open to voting against a bill that hurts our country. And I've been very clear about that also. And most importantly, hurts every American. Let's work together, and I mean that. Let's all work together on getting a sensible reconciliation package, a package that really strengthens our nation and makes us better and leads the world.
So that's where Manchin stands, everyone. Let me know what you think about his position. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, the economy, as well as our money. And also follow me on Twitter. This right here is my Twitter feed. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.